Well, I have just gotten back home from seeing everything everywhere all at once, and I'm going to do this review a little bit differently because usually this is how I start my end my reviews, not start. This movie has me thinking and has me over the place, so I am doing things differently just to set up the premise of how I feel this movie is overall and give a blanket statement of its quality up front as I go into the in discussion of the things I really enjoyed about the movie and any type of negative nitpicky type stuff that I have to say. Everything Everywhere All at Once, made by the Daniels with A24, was truly a cinematic experience. It did a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. It told a beautiful story of this family, who were kind of struggling in life at that moment and using a multiverse style story, perhaps, to not only, like I said, tell the story of the struggling family and what they're going through, and really building great characters, in each of one of the roles that you see throughout the movie. And there's not that many characters that you really have to understand and see, but each one gets moments to shine. Each one has moments to grow. Each one plays an important part. But with this multiverse aspect, gives these actors and actresses just full range to bring out some of the best acting you'll see in a movie in all of 2022. Um, which is why, after coming back home and thinking about it on my ride home and stuff, this, for me, this has been the best movie I've seen in 2022. And I'll be honest, this is the best movie I've seen in 2022 or 2021, in terms of quality. I think it's better than the movies I saw for Oscar contention last year. I definitely is the best movie I've seen so far this year. It's going to be tough to top it because this was truly being filmmakers and people who had an artistic vision that went places, took chances, and for almost the most part, those chances landed. In terms of writing and direction, on top of actors giving out amazing acting performances. The lead in this movie is Michelle Yeoh, an accomplished actress that we've seen in plenty of roles throughout, cinema. And she's really kind of had a come. Honestly, it feels bad calling it a comeback, but she is definitely on a hot streak that is going to lead her at some point to being in contention of not winning an Oscar, um, for Best Actress. And I think she very well should get nominated. Depending on what movies are like at the end of the year. But I would be very very sad if and surprised if somehow she didn't find herself nominated, for Best Actress for this role because it was a phenomenal performance as Evelyn Yang, playing, so many different versions of that character all at the same time a lot of times, going back, in different ways, and a lot of times playing those characters at the same time per se, um, with very little transitions. And I'm not talking about like them obviously having cuts and she's filming different scenes at different times they're editing together. I'm talking about even moments when simple moments when she's acting in the same scene, she's having the transition herself between three to two, three, sometimes four or five different versions of herself in the same scene. Um, just amazing, amazing acting from her, and the level she has throughout the movie was, and where she was able to go was just phenomenal all the way around. Let me go switch over to the poster real quick because, like I said, this for me is the best movie I've seen so far this year. I highly recommend people go and see it in, different ways, and I'll go into more recommendations later on. But I just want to set up off the top that this is my top movie of 2022, and anything I go into this going on, no, it's me talking about a movie with very very high standards, and I'd maybe give some type of nitpicks or recommend different types of people. That's not me trying to bring the movie down and say it's not great. That's just the thing when you have a movie of this quality, you have to, people, you're commenting on something very very well done, and not everything is ever perfect. So, but I'm just leading off by saying this was truly the best movie I've seen this year, and I want to lead that off the bat because I really want to take the time to go into my thoughts on the movie because that's kind of what I'm sitting and stewing on right now. So I'm going to switch over to the lovely poster here, and I'll be honest, that poster represents a lot of what you get in this movie, which is a bunch of craziness, um, different type of worlds, and sometimes sensory overload. Um, Going back though to the cast, probably the standout, besides, I mean, there's everybody's a standout. Whether you're looking at James Huang, one of the older legendary actors, coming from China, playing a comedic playing a comedic elderly father, grandfather, a stern, dismissive elderly father, grandfather, a like very attentive, serious person. His range is amazing. But the one that I think will surprise most people because he's been missing from the screen for so long, and he's somebody that we used to see in movies when he was a kid, is Ki Hua Kwan, who you probably know from movies like Indiana Jones and the Goonies, where he played Short Round in the Temple of Doom and Data in the Goonies. He took a break from acting a little bit after kind of growing out of his I guess adolescence, teen, kid style age, and it's apparently according to him it wasn't because he didn't like acting and wasn't talented. In fact, this movie shows very much that he is very talented. It's just that where he was in the '90s, the Asian individuals, Asian adults weren't really getting any roles besides stereotypical Asian, American viewpoint Asian roles like karate or stuff like that. And then recently he's seen movies like Crazy Rich Asians where, they're seeing filmmakers putting a emphasis on Asian culture in a different way and giving people who are maybe have having the Asian and different backgrounds and telling stories and representing those people a lot better on screen. So he's kind of slowly going to come back, and I think after this movie, you're going to see him get casted a lot of different roles because he is, in my opinion, the heart of this movie. He plays Wayman Wang, Evelyn's husband, um, and Ki Hua Kwan has to play so many different ranges. He plays in different parts of this movie. He's kind of the main exposition person who is telling Evelyn, who is then through telling Evelyn, telling the audience what exactly is going on with the world, breaking down the different type of characters, this whole multi metaverse, whatever you want to call it, type stuff. He spends a lot of the first third of the movie doing that. The second, in the second third of the movie, he's being an action star. He's doing a lot of action, you know, type bits, and he is just something that just jumps off the screen with total charisma and personality. And in the third act, he becomes an emotional keystone, somebody who just with facial expressions and small tones of his when he speaks becomes the heart and the keystone foundation of where the movie is at and what the story and what these filmmakers are trying to tell, not just to us as an audience but to the characters in the movie. That's like the beautiful thing about this movie is it's a movie that is really taking the story of Evelyn Wang and her daughter Joy Wang, who was played by Stephanie who's I don't know HSU. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce that. Who's playing Joe Wang as well as the antagonist of the movie, Jobo Tupaki. Um, he's really the heart and the foundation, for both Evelyn and eventually, later on Joy per se. So Ki Hua Kwan just plays so many different roles throughout this movie, and for somebody who's been away from acting for almost 30 years, at least American acting, I think he did a Chinese film in like 2002. That's still 20 years, almost 20 years away from when this movie was filmed. He just comes out and does a phenomenal job, and just literally like A+ acting, up there with Michelle Yeoh when it comes to quality acting. Somebody that I don't even know if he's like a lead actor, if he with his role, would they put him in supporting actor? I personally think he's more of a lead, and I think he would But if you put him in supporting, either way, he's somebody that had one of the best acting performances in a movie. Um, Again, in the last couple of years overall. Stephanie, I'm just gonna call her Stephanie because I don't want to keep butchering the last name, but she plays the daughter who is having a troubled relationship, in the main world we're in with Evelyn, with her mother, and she does such an amazing job as both the daughter who's struggling to communicate and feel connected to her parents and her family, while also being a villain that is kind of given up on reality in the world and is just wanting to make everything go away. I think it touches into um, her performance touches very much into a role where she's having to show and really give out helplessness in a very powerful way. And she does again a phenomenal, amazing job in that role of balancing all the different type of characters she's having to play. And I'm sure one of the things that must have been so fun is just how many type of makeups and costumes they had her in. She was being like the all powerful, multiverse crosser as Jobu Tupaki, who can change herself into different outfits that represented her different, multiversal beings and stuff like that. And truly, Stephanie was, and it will be a breakout performer, and not just this movie, but I think in a lot movies over the next decade or two, because the range that she showed in this movie throughout was just tremendous. And like I said, getting the like she for so much of the movie, she had to play a powerful character that is truly lost and hopeless. Um, and I think anybody who's dealt with mental struggles and have gone through things that borderline with depression and stuff can just, I think, appreciate the difficulties it is to try and act and show both of those things out. And I think Stephanie does an amazing job with that. Like I said, James Huang is the grandfather of Joy, and the Evelyn's father just plays an amazing, just character, a supporting character who's funny at times, who gets very serious at times, who becomes a competent, knowing, important character. Who goes in, who really grows as an individual throughout the movie, and he's able to tell that in his just overall um, body language and facial expressions. I mean, he's one of the greats for a reason. Again, a phenomenal supporting performance, something that could deserve a Best Supporting Actor nomination down the line, something that should, just adds to his legacy per se. And then the other probably lead supporting actor that I would say actress in this movie, Jamie Lee Curtis as Deidre Buberta. She is the IRS inspector that is go auditing Evelyn Wang and Wayman Wang's laundromat business, and where she has a lot of comedic presence, and she's been given the freedom with a lot of this movie to let loose and show her comedic acting chops. She also again has amazing range, and really has amazing tender moments, and is able to show why she's been such a great actress in movies and shows for decades. And you don't see her as much anymore in movies, and I'm glad A24 took a chance on her in this movie, because again, another acting performance that has so many different ranges, that has so much character growth throughout, that a lot of it isn't just written down on pages, but it had to be matched by the actors or actresses, you know, doing the lines and the motions. And Jamie Lee Curtis comes out and does that too, just knocks it out of the park. Um, And you can go on in the cast, there's more and more, but those are the five main standouts of cast members that really should get a lot of recognition, and a lot of praise in this movie throughout. Um, some things I'll say about the movie that may be some downturns for people. Um, I personally think if you're somebody who wants to go and enjoy a thought provoking movie that's going to be happy to sit down, think, and and have a cinematic experience that doesn't feel like it's a remake of something, that feels very original, very um, experimentational in some ways. I think you're going to really enjoy this movie. I think you're going to enjoy the thought-provoking, nature that it has. This is a movie that you're going to want to talk to people about and really discuss everything you saw. Um, there's a lot of comedy in this movie too. Like, I think the one of the beautiful things that this direction and this writing did was it knew how deep and how thought provoking and how much you had to pay attention to what was going on in the story to fully grasp everything that's going on. And so they counterbalance that with a lot of just very easy, sometimes cheap, sometimes just out of nowhere, but comedy left and right to make you laugh, 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 including a Pixar reference I would never have saw coming in a movie. And, and it was literally like it's a gag that that you hear happens in the beginning with a conversation, and it like comes back in a very literal way in one of these universes, and it's just a great gag. And every time they come to it, it doesn't feel too overused. Um, and the movie just has a lot of great comedic timing moments, and it really counterbalances and allows this movie to be easily digestible for how much heavy the topics at hand are, throughout the movies, other parts of the writing. So the comedy really um, is important to this movie, and it's done very well to keep you engaged and laughing, and to really ease your mind at certain points. Um, so that's the type of movie I'd recommend in that type of way. Who I wouldn't recommend this to would obviously be somebody who's just looking for something easy to watch. So somebody who's expecting something that makes sense, with like with a snap of the finger. Um, if you're somebody who is very sensitive with sensory overload, a lot of the times in this movie, there's a lot of jumping over to different dimensions and different places. And if you're somebody who can feel like really quick and often changes in screen, this movie can feel like a big sensory overload. Including there's one part in one scene that I honestly surprised there wasn't like a seizure warning on this movie beforehand, because I remember watching and thinking like I looked at like please nobody have an actual like epilepsy incident, because um it literally was like just like, especially in a theater when it's all dark, was just flashing lights for like a good 10-15 seconds. And I haven't seen too many reviewers mention that. So I really want to make sure I put that in my review, because I don't want anybody getting any type of hurt or have any type of episode while you're in a theater, for their safety and everybody else's, all around. But obviously, I don't think this is a movie kids will enjoy. But I just like I said, if you're not looking for something that's gonna be thought provoking, if you're just looking to pass kind of time, um, if you're sensitive to lights and changing things pretty rapidly, I can see where this might be a movie where you have to potentially either watch in chunks at home when it comes to streaming, or you might have to avoid some parts altogether, because um, it might not be something you can enjoy. And it saddens me to say that, but hey, everybody's different. Everybody watches movies and shows for different reasons. Um, so I can't really comment too much on and look down on people, because for that. But that's kind of my thoughts on everything, everywhere, all at once. It's truly a phenomenal film. I do think in some points, very minimally, it does get away a little bit of the directors in the writing, to where it feels like it goes a little bit too far with universe switching and getting a little bit out of hand. But I'm not gonna penalize too much for these directors and who wrote the movie too, for trying something so unique and so different and really going all out with this concept and not just using this concept just to try and make jokes and to be all cool like multiverse type stuff, but to tell a really good story about a family who was struggling and just people struggling and what it takes to get through that per se in life. Um, and I just, I was really thought it was a very beautiful movie with that matter, and that's why right now it's my top ranked movie of the year. We'll see what comes out and if anything's gonna push it down. Um, but hey, are you looking forward to see this movie? Are you going to see this movie? Have any questions about this movie? Have any thoughts if you have seen this movie? Leave a comment down below. Leave a like on the movie if you like this review. Leave a like on this movie. Leave a like on this review if you liked what we had to say here. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more reviews coming out soon. Got Tales of Secrets of Dumbledore coming out next week. You have the Nick Cage movie coming out soon as too, The Norsemen. Obviously, Doctor Strange is under a month away at this point now, so a lot of great movies coming out here soon. And this week was a really great one. We got 4 movies out of the way this week. Feel free to go check out any of those other reviews I did this week. We have Sonic 2, um, Ambulance, and X. But hey, thank you for stopping in. What would your multiverse person be, or what type of multiverse person do you wish you were the most, or not wish you were the most? Either way, have a good night, have a good day, and until next time, enjoy yourself and tell somebody you love them. See ya.